morning, Abby, it's Friday, and I'm kind of screwed right now, because I should have pre-recorded a video for today, but I didn't know that I had to, because derp. So now I have to talk really, really fast and try and minimize the amount of editing that I have to do, and it's probably going to annoy some of you. But you know what? That's alright, because today we are going to talk about how the Enlightenment, one of the best periods in European history, was caused by caffeine. However, before I can give you a history lesson, I must give you a psychology one. So you may have heard of this chemical in your brain called dopamine, and a lot of people will summarize it to you as the happy chemical, because when you do certain things, mainly things that you enjoy, your brain releases dopamine, and the dopamine tells your brain, hey, that was fun! However, the happy chemical isn't really a good name for dopamine. A better name for dopamine would be the motivation chemical, because it motivates you to do things. Like, let's say you're eating a food you like, so like, pizza, I guess. And you eat pizza, and your brain releases dopamine, and the dopamine tells your brain, hey, pizza is good. You should eat more pizza, which is kind of dangerous thinking because pizza is not necessarily the healthiest food, but that's not what this video is about. As you can imagine, people who don't have enough dopamine in their system for whatever reason will often be very lethargic and bored a lot of the time, and in fact, there is an entire branch of depression caused specifically from dopamine deficiency. Dopamine is important crud, people. Now, I mentioned that dopamine is released when we do things or eat things or whatever when we do things that we enjoy, basically. But there are certain things that are triggered to release more dopamine into our brains without us actually liking them or not. For example, being around people that you like. So sorry, all y'all misanthropes out there, because your brain is literally designed to not be in favor of misanthropy, so have a fun time out there. I feel like I said misanthrope wrong. I feel like it's supposed to be like misanthropy or something, but I don't care. I'm short on time. I don't have time to look up the definition of misanthrope, whatever. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, me not being able to pronounce misanthrope and saying definition instead of pronunciation is a perfect example for why I should never have to be stressed in my life, because this is what stress does to me. But unfortunately, anyway, things that trigger dopamine production. One of those things is caffeine. Basically what caffeine does is it enters your brain and it tells your brain, hey, release a bunch of dopamine right now. So then the dopamine goes throughout your brain, and because dopamine is a motivation chemical, that's why people drink caffeine when they need to do things, because caffeine helps motivate you to do things, and that brings us to 18th century Europe. So for the longest time in Europe, and also basically everywhere else, but we're specifically talking about Europe right here, everyone had been drinking nothing but alcohol. Alcohol is a depressant. It helps you not think about your problems for a while, but in the long term, you are not solving your problems. You are not being encouraged to solve your problems. You're just drinking. Don't do drinks, kids. But then, a bunch of people in Europe started drinking coffee and tea, which both have caffeine in them, and the caffeine was encouraging their brains to release more dopamine, which was making their brains more active and willing to think and do things, and then they started thinking about the world complexly, like John Green wants us all to, and then people started becoming scientists and philosophers, and before you know it, Enlightenment! So yeah, lesson of the day, kids. Dopamine is good. And when I say dopamine, I don't mean dope and methamphetamine. No, don't do those two things, especially not together. Or maybe they work well together. I'm not a drug expert. But anyway, get dopamine flowing through your system. Be with people that you like. Do things that make you happy. And if all else fails, a little caffeine won't hurt. Abby, I will see you on Monday.